Hi there. MDM or master data management has evolved significantly in the last decade, and there are several factors contributing to it, which includes the growing volume and complexity of data, increased regulatory requirements, and the growing importance of data as a strategic asset for businesses. My name is Sahil, and today we are discussing 7 amazing master data trends that happened in the last decade. So let's jump in and see what we have captured and what we have missed. To start with, there is an increased focus on data governance. Organizations today place a greater emphasis on data governance to ensure the accuracy, consistency, and completeness of their master data. This includes the creation of data governance policies and procedures, as well as establishing of roles and responsibilities for master data management. Then there is greater use of cloud-based solutions. The adoption of cloud-based master data management solutions has grown recently as organizations look to take advantage of scalability, flexibility, and cost effectiveness offered by these solutions. The third is the whole advancement in the areas of automation and machine learning. AI and ML are being increasingly applied to master data management, and this includes using natural language processing, entity recognition, and semantic technologies to improve the accuracy and completeness of master data. Furthermore, is the use of master data management in conjunction with other technologies. MDM has become increasingly integrated with other technologies, such as big data platforms and artificial intelligence, to gain greater insights from data. Fifth is the data quality. In the last decade, organizations have focused more on data quality to ensure that master data is fit for the intended use. This includes implementing data quality checks and monitoring data quality on an ongoing basis. Then comes MDM to support digital transformation initiatives. Master data management has become increasingly important for organizations undergoing digital transformation initiatives. It helps to ensure that data is complete, accurate, consistent across the organization. And finally, compliance to data privacy regulations such as GDPR, CCPA, and Australian Privacy Act. It's becoming increasingly important and integrates into master data management solution. These factors combined have led to a greater focus on master data management as a critical component of an organization's overall data management strategy. For more information on master data management, Google Prospecta software.
Hello, everyone. I am Randy Gibson, the head of solutions for Prospecta, and today I'll be leading you through the latest trends in MDM. Before I do that, I'll tell you just a brief little bit about myself. I've been in the master data area for about 20 years now. Spent 4.5 years actually in Australia working on the BHP Billiton OneSAP project and the Brisbane City Council GSAP project as the master data asset and works lead there. So spent a little time down under as well as here in the States. So I'm going to lead you through this today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them with us and we'll be glad to get answers back to you. Again, thank you for your time. So master data management evolution. Like I said, I've been in the field for 20 years. So we can talk a little bit about what's going on in those 20 years. I remember when I first started, basically there was no controls whatsoever. It was pretty much freewheeling it back then, and everybody did what they wanted to do, and that caused for some really hairy situations in master data. So I started off in the infancy of master data and have seen it grown and really take a place in the industry that's very people have determined master data is very important for their business. There's been a increased focus on data governance, and rightly so. I used to say that 10 years ago, I would go in as a project lead and we would go in to clean up the data. Companies would call us and say, basically, our data is in such bad shape, we can't rely on it, we can't depend on it. And really the reason for that is because Randy would go in and Randy would write the data the way he thought it should be written. He'd write this was a pump for um, this tank at this location, blah blah blah, and that's how he thought it should be written. And then Randy would move on to somewhere else, and Jim would come in and Jim would write it the way he thought it would be. He would say Randy didn't know what he was talking about, and he would write it that way. And then finally, um, Louise would come in and Louise would say these two guys didn't know what they were doing. This is the way it should be written, and they wrote it that way. Well, not that any of the three may have been all could have been great, but they were all three different ways. So by the end of the time, 5 years down the line, we didn't know whether we were writing for a pump for the motor or a motor for the pump. Nobody really knew. The data had gotten so bad by just so many people using it the way they wanted to that it was no longer useful. So then companies would call people like me in and we would do huge data cleanse and enrich projects. And I would smile as I walked out the door because I knew that 5 years later, um, they would be calling me or somebody like me to clean their data again. It was true job security. But obviously, it didn't take long for businesses to understand that they needed enterprise-wide rules governance to control their data and to make sure that Randy and Louise and Jim were all writing it the exact same way, and that was the company's way. So increased focus on data governance has just grown over the years till now. Everybody understands the term data governance and knows what it refers to, and I believe almost everybody knows how important it is in today's world. Greater use of cloud-based solutions is truly just something that I thought would never happen. And I can remember when I first got started and when cloud solutions first became available, and we would mention it to people, and they were like, "Oh, no, no, no! I want it on-prem. I want it right here. I want to be able to manage everything that's going on." And move to the point today where almost everybody understands that a cloud-based solution is more flexible, it's more cost effective, the scalability is much better, and truthfully, the security is better. They don't have to worry about your servers failing, downtime. It's got the seriousness, and you can spend the money of these large companies that to make sure that it's up and running on AWS and those type of things. So cloud-based solutions 10, 15 years ago were a rarity, and now they really are the norm, and it's what everybody expects in a solution that you're bringing to them. Advanced AI and ML, I mean, it's changing the way that we clean, enrich, and control our master data. Today, we're doing things that just a few years ago were on our sci-fi shows that were things that we were talking about. Now we have true artificial intelligence, and the computers are actually the machines are actually learning. They look at something, they see it over and over again, and truthfully, 5 or 10 years ago, we wouldn't have expected that to happen, and it's causing us to have technological breakthroughs and abilities that we would have never have thought. It's meant now that a lot of stuff that we were doing manually and that we took lots and lots of people to do, now one computer is able to do because they're able to understand and learn as they go. So it's great and exciting technology, and it's only going to get more um, prevalent throughout everything that we do. Use of MDM in conjunction with other technologies, it's just a fact. Um, Programs like product lifecycle management and predictive maintenance are now only a possibility because of the ability to gain better and more master data to make sure that we can trust our master data. I remember a survey from a few years ago that I think Gartner or Forrester did. I can't remember which one. And they said that only 6% or something of CEOs actually trusted their master data. If you can't trust your master data to make sound business decisions on, you've got a real problem in today's marketplace. You need to be able to trust that. And in order to trust your master data, you had to have a good governance policy in place. You have to be using cutting edge technology, and you have to be controlling your data just like you control everything else in your business because your data is truthfully priceless. So like I said, by that leads right into this, where we obviously now expect more from our master data. We're using it for more things, so the data quality truthfully has to be there. You look at plant maintenance, where before in a material you might have one or two fields filled out, one or two. It might tell you in a pump what the throughput is, and it might tell you um, the motor, the driver that was required, power that was required, but that was all it would tell you. Well, today we understand that we need all of those attributes, all of those values for that pump, so that if in case we have a problem, we know that we can pull a like pump or a similar pump over into that situation. We can check between our plants or our facilities to see where there's another similar one that we can locally get, especially with the supply chain problems that we've had over the last few years. Those type of things are very important. I've had clients that told me stories about how they put the corporate jet in use, flew to China, got a piece of equipment or a part that they needed, flew it back to the U.S. to install it because of their line being down, only to find out that a sister plant 3 states away had one sitting in their warehouse that they knew nothing about. Those are the kind of costly situations that happen that we really in this economy and today can't afford to happen. So your data quality is very important, and that's just one aspect of why it's so important. MDM and digital transformation. It's becoming increasingly important for organizations undergoing digital transformation initiatives. Um, I know that SAP said that if you'd get your data right before a S4 HANA implementation, could save you as much as 25% of project costs in order to do it. Some of the problems they initially had with the S4 HANA implementations was strictly due to bad master data quality, that the data wasn't good enough. Um, so as we're making and spending this huge amounts of money on transformations, if we're forgetting our master data, if we're not taking care of that, if we're not making sure that it's ready to go, and you're not having experts help you with it, then you can really find that you're going to spend a lot more money in the long run than you had to have. I'm reminded of a client that I had at one point of 10 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. As you get older, time flies. Um, but they had somebody that was doing an SAP implementation of finance, and they said, "Hey, can you do plan maintenance?" And they said, "Sure, we'll do that for you." Well, what they actually did was they didn't know anything about the plant maintenance data, and they simply truncated from Maximo to the SAP installation from 100 characters to 40 characters. The data became unusable. It was unreadable. Nobody knew what it was, and so they had to go back in and do a complete plant maintenance re-implementation where we pulled the data out of the Maximo system again and actually cleansed and then enriched the data to make sure that it met all the standards that it needed to and push it in so they could use it. So find a company that understands SAP, that understands master data, even more importantly, and understands what needs to be done for a digital transformation to make sure that you're going to get your money's worth and you're going to get the full value out of the software that you're spending a great deal of money to use. Integrated data privacy and security in MDM. Data privacy regulations, such as we're talking about here, are increasingly important and integrated into master data management solutions. For Prospecta MDO, we meet these standards. We meet the ISO 8000 data standards. Deal with reputable companies that you know are like Prospecta are on the cutting edge of technology, and it's it's like they say, it's what we do. And if you're don't look for somebody that's doing something. I don't hire a painter to be a plumber. Don't hire somebody else to do master data, especially in plant maintenance in any of the SAP objects. It's important. Empowering your data journey with us. Um, Prospecta is a SAP endorsed partner. Um, we are leading the way in this technology. Um, for cloud-based technology, there is nobody I would tell you that compares. I've seen what's out there, and we want to show you how we can do it. I don't have a lot of time today to show you an in-depth deep dive of MDO Fuse, but I will spend just a few minutes doing it. And if you like what you see, then by all means get in touch with us. Let us give you a deep dive demo that's built more to what your specifications or needs are. We handle all the SAP objects. We started in SAP where we were an SAP shop, although we believe master data is agnostic, and we deal with Maximo customers and Salesforce customers and customers that are using other technologies as well. So, but we have a real strong understanding of SAP, of master data, and have experts that can help you answer questions and point you in the right direction. So again, thank you for your time. I'll stand by for the demo, and I hope we can answer some questions for you in the future. Okay, folks, now we're going to start the demo portion of our webinar. We're going to be discussing data quality management using MDO. We'll start with our data information workbench. We are looking at functional locations today. You can see in red the errors in these records. These errors are identified by the business rules set up in MDO. We have some that come right out of the box, and each client can also set up their own business rules to identify the errors working in the areas that they are interested in. These errors, once you identify them, can be corrected right in the web interface, or they can be exported as well in a CSV file and corrected in our Excel Connect add-on that we'll show you later in the demo. Now let's look at how we set up these business rules in MDO. You can see some of the different rules we have set up. The rules can be set up using different operators such as less than, greater than, like, equals, and there are many others as well that you can choose from. We can create a new rule, such as the one shown. We just pick a rule type. As we're doing here, we have many to choose from. So we're going to choose missing rule. We're going to weight that, and then we're going to choose the category of the rule. So in this case, it's going to be validness, and then we'll create a rule name. We'll choose the field that the rule is related to, and then we'll choose an error message to return to allow our users to understand what it is. That's it. We'll be on to our next part, configuring business process using MDO. Okay, next we're going to go configuring business processes using MDO. This is an overview of how business rules can be created in MDO. Our business rules are all BPMN based, and you can create them just as you would a flowchart. Absolutely everything is point and click, drag and drop. There's no coding that's needed. IT is not required to create these. The business user can create these easily in MDO, or you can also, if you prefer, create these in Visio and import them from there. It really is just that simple. So next we'll move on to managing functional locations and equipment using MDO. First we'll sign in. Now we're using the traditional username and password method, but single sign-on is also available. We start from the dashboard just as you would in your daily work. You can see as we create a functional location, you can set which of the fields to show the user. So you can choose to show them all the fields that they'll be responsible to create, or base the fields just on the roles and tasks that that particular user has. As you can see, the field values can be entered manually or chosen from a drop-down menu. As you create the new record, any errors will show in red in the top right corner so that you can fix them before you move forward. You can see there we have two errors that we'll need to fix. One is in the description, which we're fixing now. And the second one is that the catalog profile and object type should be the same. So we'll make sure to change that to meet that requirement. That's the business rule that that particular company has in mind. And then from there, we can go on to create equipment. These are created using class and characteristics, and our taxonomy meets the ISO 14224 standard. It's simply pick what you'd like to do here. We're going to edit. We're going to actually enter the value for that characteristic for that transformer. We're going to make it 300 kilohertz. And we go through and we do that. You can see the value there. You can choose which values that you need to add, and you may add those. Each one of those values can be determined to be mandatory or optional, and they are set in a priority as best practice. Now we're going to create a second equipment here. We can do that as well. We can create multiple equipments right from this location as well. So that makes it very easy to do so. Now we can set at any time the process log, as you can see here, the audit sheet to see who was assigned and what the status is of those assignments. Now we're going to change roles. I need to go from the requester to the reviewer, and that's why we're using the password, the user ID and password method. We're going to go from the dashboard again. So the reviewer is also notified by email as well that they have work to do. So whether they go from the dashboard or from their email, they're going to come to the same location. They're going to be able to review the record. They'll add any info that they're needed to require to do as well. So if they need to populate certain fields or just simply approve it, they may do so, approve that, or also reject the record. So here he's reviewed both the equipment and the functional location, and now he is approving the record. And that's it. The record has been created successfully, and you get an immediate review. Okay, next we'll go on with mass change functional locations and equipment using MDO. So let's take a look at our Excel Connect offering. You can see our MDO Fuse add-ons in Excel. With their add-ons, you maintain all the power of Excel by adding an MDO workspace. By signing into MDO Fuse, you now have the same functionality and business rules you have in the MDO Fuse web interface, but still having the same Excel tools that you have. Here we're going to select a workflow for functional location and equipment. We'll populate that. It has all the tabs, all the fields that you would need to create functional location and manage functional locations within SAP. After you've selected your workflow, you can import records into MDO Excel. You can review the records and correct them, as we're showing here. As you see, we're making changes directly to the records as we need. You can also then copy or add rows to create new records. And again, MDO validates all of this work based on your business rules, and you can import it back into MDO for your approval workflow. So we'll make these changes, we'll add these records, and then as we finish with that, we add the catalog profile. As you remember, it has to match the object type. We will add all the necessary information that we have. We've created an additional 2 records for the motor. We'll enter that information. We're only required to enter the information that our particular company or client uses. However, we do provide all of them. We have every field for the SAP functional location equipments and MRO, virtually everything right out of the box for you. So here we're validating it. Six records were processed and approved. See, we have 2 errors. So we're going to correct those errors now. So you're seeing that we have the same functionality here within our Excel Connect for MDO that we do actually in the web interface. It's presented a little differently because it is working inside of Excel. Now we're exporting that data, as I said we could do, right back into the MDO Fuse web interface. We're going to sign back on there again. Once we've signed on, we'll then be able to see these new records inside MDO Fuse, and we can walk it through the workflow process. Again, we can do so via the dashboard. As we have here, we can look and we can approve it. You can see here is the ones that we just created. Verify that the changes were made and that they're accurate. And then simply approve them. It's really that easy. All right, and finally, we'll look at the MDO analytics. Here you can see some basic reports based on the data inside MDO. You'll receive these basic reports right out of the box. You can download the data, download the reports also, save the images, look at a table view. Um, all of this is point and click, easy to use. You want to just save that image, for example, to use it in a PowerPoint presentation or some other reporting function that you have. Very easy to do. I think I may have said you can download them to a CSV file. You can change the way they are displayed, create new reports as well, all using that built-in widget. Very easy to do. Just go through and pick which fields, which tables, how you want it to display, whether it be a bar chart or a pie. All of those things are very easy to do right from the system. All right, and that's pretty much it. We've got it down. We appreciate your time and thank you for watching our demo.